Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Our gorgeous weekend weather coming to a close today with the introduction of rain again. I'll walk you through when it arrives coming up.
Today we will hear closing arguments in the trial regarding Henderson Atwater in this case of a string of pellet gun shootings. We'll give you an update on what we know so far.
Raleigh Elementary School, dating back to the 1920s, is set to be demolished in just hours. We have a look at the Greater Improvement Project for nearly a dozen Wake County schools. A lot of work being done there, especially as kids are about to enter the school year. Goodness, it's August almost.
I know.
We're just about there. Time is going by quick. Hey, thanks for joining us here this morning on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Levingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Happy Monday. Hopefully you've had your coffee. We are in for some potential showers and storms later on today. Meteorologist Kat Campbell with us this morning. Later on in the day, though.
Exactly. You know, if you can head out on your morning walk over the next hour or two, that's your best bet on having some dry weather. We do have a small chance for rain at 9 a.m. That's just going to be in our western counties. By 11 a.m., that chance really going up, though, about a 60% chance by then. And notice the temperature staying in the 70s throughout the morning, thanks to the clouds that roll in out ahead of these showers. We continue to see some rain closer to Moore County, and the Sandhills closing in. It's not heavy yet, but it will pick up in intensity as we continue to see the rain very slowly push to the east. Futurecast showing the showers moving into the area from west to east, especially as we head midday through the early afternoon. These are going to be scattered in nature. There could be some pockets of heavy rain once again today, so we'll monitor that potential for you. By the evening, we start to see these showers gradually dissipating outside. Still a lot of clouds sticking around, so that's going to help to keep our temperatures in the 80s for highs today. We'll be in the low to mid 80s, but a huge warm up on the horizon once again. I'll have a closer look at the changes in store during the work week coming up. And Ken Smith staying by with the traffic update.
All right, and you know, Kat, the rain isn't here yet, so that's a good thing for the morning commute. We do have a couple of incidents I want to make you aware of, particularly if you're about to head out this morning. There's a serious crash in Capitol Boulevard, southbound there, Old Wake Forest Road. We're not picking up any problems in that particular area, but watch for some police activity there on Capitol Boulevard in those southbound lanes. We're also monitoring another crash that happened in the last half hour. So this is on Six Forks Road in the eastbound lane near Atlantic Avenue. Again, we're not picking up any problems in terms of a slowdown for you. So just keep that in mind. If you're heading out, you're going to see some police activity in that area. You're seeing the Beltline right there. That's the usual morning slowdown that we've been seeing all morning long. That's probably going to add a couple of minutes to your morning commute. Elsewhere around the triangle, we're also seeing traffic building on the south side of the Beltline as well. Many of you use I-540 as an alternate route. No major problems to report there. Just a couple of minutes in terms of adding to your morning commute as you get ready to head out this morning.
Fire investigators in Moore County are trying to determine what started a fire that destroyed a building and damaged another. This happened on Chestnut Street just after 1 o'clock this morning. Firefighters were able to put out the fire in about 30 minutes. The building that burned down appeared to be abandoned. No one was inside. A house next door had heat damage to its siding. And WRAL is working to learn more about a shooting in Durham that left a man with life-threatening injuries. Police were at the scene on South Roxborough Street near Cornwallis Road around midnight. They were there for about 4 hours. They say that someone took the man to the hospital in their personal car, and so we are working to learn the man's name and whether police have anyone in custody.
This morning, closing arguments are set to begin in the trial of a Holly Springs man accused in a string of pellet gun shootings. Henderson Atwater spent nearly 3 years in jail. In January, he was arraigned again on the same charges. WRAL's Laura Levine is outside the Wake County Justice Center. Laura, the NAACP wants a federal investigation into this case.
Today's closing arguments here will be the culmination of what's been a really tumultuous case. We know Henderson Atwater is facing dozens of counts, and he has remained his innocence since the very beginning. Now, Atwater spent nearly 3 years behind bars before a judge declared a mistrial last year. Then in January of this year, he was arraigned again on 30 counts, which included the same charges plus additional ones. He's accused of being connected to a string of pellet gun shootings dating back to 2020 and 2021. They targeted moving cars and did not lead to any deaths. Now, the NAACP has called for a federal investigation into the prosecution. We spoke with Atwater and one of his attorneys earlier this month who say they just want to prove his innocence and put this all behind them. Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman says her office has done its due diligence to be fair in this case. The closing arguments begin here at 9:30. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
This morning, French officials are saying telecommunication lines were vandalized. Fiber optic lines and phone mobile connections were affected, but it's unclear how big of an effect this is having on the country as a whole, including the Olympics. Authorities there say at least 6 of France's administrative departments were affected. And not long ago, today, French media reports say that authorities are blaming extremists for the country's rail network sabotage. France's interior minister said that the attack was similar to other extremist attacks in the past. He said authorities have identified several people who may have led the attack and confirmed at least one arrest was made yesterday.
Covering Wake County today is the end of an era for an elementary school. Demolition will start today on Swift Creek Elementary. The school on Tryon Road is getting ready for a major renovation. It's part of a 7-year school improvement project among Wake County Public Schools. Swift Creek won't be increasing its capacity, but the school will be bigger to meet new curriculum standards. School operations will move to a space off Timber Drive during renovations. The new and improved space is scheduled to reopen in 2025.
Today, 9 more year-round schools in Wake County will start the new academic year. Those are the Track 4 schools, Michelle.
And it's almost August, so traditional calendar families are getting ready for class as well. Those schools start back on August 27th. And new testing starts today at NC State's Poe Hall. Independent scientists will be able to get into the building today. They'll be doing more extensive testing for cancer-causing chemicals, also known as PCBs. More than 200 people have told WRAL's Keely Arthur they were diagnosed with cancer after studying or working inside that building. Earlier this month, attorneys reached a deal with NC State to allow independent testing of the building. The testing will last for a week.
A Raleigh teenager is in the hospital because he nearly drowned at an apartment complex pool. This happened on Driftwood Manor off Western Boulevard in Raleigh. This was just before 5:30 last night. Investigators say the 15-year-old was swimming with his family when he went under, but they do not know how long he was underwater. First responders worked to keep him breathing before taking him to the hospital.
I saw some kids sitting on the steps, upset. So I walked over and asked how they were doing. They just kept saying, I want my brother, I want to see.
Authorities say the teenager suffered serious injuries, and so WRAL reached out to the property management company. We asked if they have any plans to temporarily close the pool, but we haven't heard back.
Another day of Olympic action is just getting started in Paris. Here's a look at some of the big events that are happening today. Coming up at 9:30, the U.S. women's rugby sevens team plays France. The men's team final in gymnastics gets started at 11:30 this morning. And at 2:30 this afternoon, finals and several swimming events get started. That includes the men's 100-meter backstroke and the women's 100-meter breaststroke. You can watch all of those events and more live today on WRAL or catch the replay on prime time in Paris. That's starting at 8 o'clock tonight. And happening now, a huge tennis match in the second round of the men's tournament. Rafael Nadal versus Novak Djokovic is about to get started. The men's street skateboard final, which was postponed by rain on Saturday, that starts at 11. And the U.S. women's basketball team opens its Olympics with a game against Japan at 3 p.m. And the U.S. is on top of the medal count so far, but some other countries are adding medals this morning. American athletes have won 3 golds, 6 silvers, and 3 bronzes. China is in second place with 9 medals, including 5 golds. France now also has 9 medals, and Japan has 8 medals. South Korea has won 7 so far.
And Michelle, the U.S. women's soccer team is on its way to the next round after beating Germany 4-1 yesterday. The Americans have won their first 2 matches by a combined 7-1. They have one more group stage match before the knockout round starts. They'll play Australia come Wednesday. And the U.S. took both gold and silver in an exciting women's 100-meter butterfly final. Tori Husk won the gold, beating out teammate Gretchen Walsh by 0.04 of a second.
The State Board of Elections meets today, and it's facing two lawsuits over the names on the presidential ballot. North Carolina Democrats are suing the board over its decision to allow Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the ballot. They say that his We the People party is not legitimate, and he avoided more stringent requirements for an individual to get on the ballot by creating the party. Backers of Cornel West are also suing the Board of Elections. They say the board improperly rejected the Justice for All Parties access to the ballot. The board's regularly scheduled meeting is at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And coming up, AI could start working to manage traffic. We'll explain Google's new program using driver data to make your morning commute more efficient.
And some states have more worries about money than others. After the break, a look at where the most financially stressed people are living and where North Carolina ranks among those places.
And I'm tracking some rain moving into the Sandhills this morning. I'll let you know when the rain could arrive where you live coming up.
Welcome back. Happy Monday. To take a live look over Chapel Hill this morning, you're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Couple clouds in Chapel Hill. Meteorologist Kat Campbell has Dix Park behind her. Kat, Dix Park looks beautiful, but that rain is slowly pushing in.
It's going to be here later on this morning. 74 degrees right now, not too bad out there. You can see quite a bit of cloud cover and a hazy look to the sky. Did you see how orange the sunrise looked this morning? Well, some of that may be due to smoke from the wildfires that are burning in the western U.S. The good news is this is not dangerous for us. Unfortunately, very dangerous for folks out west, but the jet stream is steering some of that smoke toward North Carolina. That helps to enhance our sunsets and sunrises, but also gives it a hazy look to the sky. You combine that with the clouds that are on the way today. We'll take on a pretty gray look later on. 70 degrees in Roxborough and South Hill, 73 for Southern Pines and Fayetteville at this hour. The rain isn't very heavy at this point, but it's very slow moving, and there is some heavier rain present. So once it gets here, it could pick up a bit in intensity. Right now, just some scattered showers in the Sandhills. A few sprinkles headed into parts of Person and Durham counties on the north side of Durham, though. Today's rain chance 60%. Tomorrow we're at a 50% chance. Toward the end of the week, the chance for rain will go down a bit. Still a small chance at least each day, but temperatures are going to go up when rain chances go down. So enjoy the more comfortable feel today. By the time we get toward lunchtime, that's 11 a.m. through 2 o'clock. I think that's going to be our most widespread rain that we see today. Later this evening toward sunset, that should really begin to taper off during the evening hours. We'll watch the overnight hours to see if we are able to see any showers redevelop. Our in-house model of Futurecast does show that potential. And then tomorrow, it's a pretty typical day with some scattered showers and storms, mainly during the afternoon and evening. Not everybody's going to see rain tomorrow or even today. Today's storm chance is closer to the triad. That's where we've got the level 1 out of 5 severe threat. That includes the Sandhills tomorrow, so it's still overall a low risk, but we can't rule out an isolated storm with damaging wind gusts tomorrow, primarily toward the Sandhills, and that's because it's going to be hotter. That heat translates to more energy out there. As we look toward Wednesday and Thursday, the heat really builds back in. Friday, we're up to 97 degrees, and then over the weekend, the heat backs off just a little bit out there. Ken?
Ken, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We continue to monitor a couple of incidents right now as many of you get ready to head out this morning. The good news is the rain isn't here yet, as Kat just mentioned, but we are monitoring this serious crash in Capitol Boulevard in the southbound lane near Old Wake Forest Road. We're not seeing any traffic delays in that particular area, but just watch for some police activity if you happen to be navigating Old Wake Forest Road and Capitol Boulevard at this hour. This is another crash we've been monitoring as well, 6 Forks Road in the eastbound lane near Atlantic Avenue. Again, not a problem to report in terms of your commute this morning. You are noticing the Beltline right now. That's the usual morning congestion that we've seen, that northern part of the Beltline as well. We are seeing that congestion building on the south side of the Beltline similarly as well. Let's take you outside and show you exactly what we're talking about here. This is I-440 and Lake Boone Trail. The westbound lanes are coming toward us. The eastbound lanes, of course, moving away from us, moving at a steady and safe clip this morning. So that's the slowdowns that you're seeing on our live sensors this morning. This is on I-440 and Capitol Boulevard. The westbound lanes, again, coming our way. But again, this is the usual morning congestion that we see. So if you're getting ready to head out, just building some extra time so you don't have to rush.
All Right, thank you, Ken. A fast-moving wildfire in Canada has destroyed hundreds of structures in the town of Jasper that's located within the Jasper National Park. Park officials are warning it could still be burning months from now. Officials say they expect to be working on this wildfire for at least the next 3 months. Officials say more than 350 of Jasper's structures were destroyed, making it the largest blaze recorded in Jasper National Park in a century. While rain and cooler temperatures have helped to subdue the flames, there are still active hotspots near the community. Evacuation orders remain in effect.
The 2 men wounded during the assassination attempt on President Trump's life are now home recovering. Doctors released James Copenhaver over the weekend. The other man who was injured, David Dutch, was released last Wednesday. The 2 men suffered serious injuries when a gunman fired shots during the rally. The former president says he plans to hold another campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and he says he plans to honor Corey Competor's life. He's the man shot and killed at the rally and those injured.
We are less than 100 days from polls opening in North Carolina for the 2024 general election. Former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are both hoping America picks them to be the next president. Rob Kirkpatrick shares how a Democratic vice presidential pick and the convention could further shake up the contest.
The final sprint for the White House is now underway as Donald Trump and Kamala Harris enter 100 days until the presidential election.
We have a new candidate to defeat the most incompetent, unpopular, and far-left vice president in American history.
Let us be clear-eyed. We have a fight ahead of us.
The political landscape shifted dramatically when President Joe Biden announced he is not seeking re-election. In the 7 days since, Harris has united and energized the Democratic Party. Her campaign announced she's already raised a staggering $200 million. And polls show the race tightening between her and the former president as both head to critical swing states this week. Both Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, are ramping up the attacks on Harris.
She's a radical left lunatic. She has no clue. She's evil.
Maybe the worst and most dishonest thing that Kamala Harris has done, she helped cover up Joe Biden's declining mental capacity for years.
One question still remains, who will be Kamala Harris's running mate? One name mentioned is Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who criticized Trump's record.
He broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it.
Other candidates include North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Former Attorney General Eric Holder is leading the vetting process as the Democratic Convention begins in just 3 weeks. Rob Kirkpatrick, WRAL News.
An oil spill on Saturday contaminated the drinking water in a Louisiana bayou. The spill came from an energy facility in Raceland. That's about 45 minutes southwest from New Orleans. The cause of that spill, that's still being investigated, and it's unclear how much oil spilled into the river. Residents and officials say that the amount of oil is unprecedented.
Water. That's the first thing that went to my mind.
We've had small releases in the bayou, but nothing to this magnitude. We've seen releases in the Mississippi River that have happened before that have caused the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District to shut down their pump station in Donaldsonville and slow down the feed of water. But to this magnitude, it's the first time we've ever seen this sort of release in Bayou Lafourche at this southern juncture.
And the local parish's water district is issuing a water conservation notice for everyone that lives near the bayou.
We're getting a closer look at which states have the most money worries. Wallet Hub published a study this month on states with the most people in financial distress. It found Michigan, Texas, Nevada, Tennessee, and Rhode Island have the most people with financial difficulties. North Carolina ranked number 8. Wallet Hub looked at credit score changes, debt and loan web searches, and bankruptcy filings. The most stressed states were in the Southeast, and the least were in the Midwest and New England. New Hampshire and Iowa ranked the lowest.
Google is partnering with cities around the world for research called Project Greenlight. Part of this research is using artificial technology to monitor traffic patterns. The idea is to alter the timing of traffic lights in real time to improve the flow of traffic.
You know that great feeling when you hit 2 or 3 green lights in a row? That's what we're trying to create with Greenlight. We're basically shifting a couple of seconds from one of the lights to the other one, right? And this prevents traffic from backing up.
Oof, nothing like it. Project Greenlight is already active in Boston, Seattle, and a dozen other cities worldwide.
The Amateur Athletic Union Junior Olympics continues today in Greensboro. Races are happening at North Carolina A&T University. The 3,000-meter run will be the first at 8 o'clock. It happened 20 minutes ago. Track and field events will happen there throughout the week, with the competition wrapping up on Sunday.
We are expecting an announcement from President Biden today about Supreme Court reform. We'll explain what he could propose and the challenges he might face doing it.
Plus, an early morning fire destroyed a building and damaged another in Moore County. We'll bring you more images of the damage left behind.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. We are dry for now, but the rain is pushing in. Meteorologist Kat Campbell shows us where it is right now.
Well, we're starting to see the intensity of the rain picking up around Robbins. Still some lighter rain for Carthage, but we've got this heavier band that's going to be moving into Moore County as well as Chatham County here over the next hour or two. All of this is moving to the east. It's just moving very slowly. So once the rain arrives, it'll be slow to clear out as well. Late morning through the afternoon, that's going to be our best chance for rain today. It does look like it'll taper off a bit more into the evening, but the heat's coming back after today, so enjoy 82 for the high. By the end of the week, we're going to be back in the mid to upper 90s, Ken.
Oh, we'll enjoy it. Right now, we just have Raleigh police working a couple of incidents on Capitol Boulevard and the Six Forks, so neither of which is causing any problems for your morning commute. This incident just popped up onto our live sensors in just the last 30 seconds. I have another update for you at the bottom of the hour over on Fox 50, but elsewhere around the triangle, the belt line really beginning to thin out just a little bit. Even though traffic has picked up a little bit, we're not seeing the major slowdowns as you were seeing in the last 20 minutes or so. In Durham, I-885, free and clear in both directions this morning.
Thanks, Ken. This morning, we expect to hear closing arguments in the trial of a Holly Springs man accused in a string of pellet gun shootings that targeted moving cars. Henderson Atwater spent nearly 3 years in jail before a judge declared a mistrial. This year, he was arraigned again on the same charges, plus new ones. And a man is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries this morning after a shooting in Durham. Police were at the scene on South Roxborough Street until midnight, 4 hours after it happened. We are working to learn the man's name and whether police have anybody in custody. Next on Fox 50, the plans for some new and improved Wake County schools opening in the next few years.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
WRAL News is on the scene of a breaking news situation unfolding in Fuquay Arena. Right there on the left, you will see video from the breaking news tracker. Nick Perlin is out there trying to get more information. And on your right, you see Sky 5 there. We'll get you some more updates here coming up in just a second.
And it's a quiet start to the day, but changes are coming as rain fills in from the west. I'll let you know how much longer we'll be dealing with rain chances this week coming up.
A new era for Wake County schools. A renovation project at Swift Creek Elementary starts this morning. Coming up, plans for more new schools across the county.
Plus, an eventful first weekend of the Olympics makes way for more excitement today. The big events that you'll want to keep an eye out for as you start the day. Thank you so much for joining us here on your Monday morning. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
And I'm Chris Lovingood. And a pretty cool morning as you start up here today. And
nice.
Part of me is like, can it stay that way the entire day? And obviously, asking Kat Campbell will be the person to ask about that.
The heat's not all that bad. That's the good news, Chris, but you're going to have to dodge showers. Grab your umbrella before you leave the house today. You may not need it yet, but the key word there is yet. Rain's going to be filling in from the west. We already have rain picking up in intensity. It's a steady rain closer to Robbins and Moore County. That's moving into Chatham County next. A few sprinkles up to the north around Person County, but we've got better rain chances coming. It's a 60% chance late morning through the afternoon hours, and then by the late afternoon and evening, rain chances will gradually back off once again. High temperatures today, pretty nice for late July, right? 82 in the Triangle, 84 for Rocky Mount, Goldsboro, and Clinton, 83 in Fayetteville today. That will come with a chance for some thunderstorms to be mixed in with the rain once we get to the afternoon hours and warm up a bit. The heat index today could be over, not today, but later this week could be over 100 several days in a row, and that may even prompt a heat advisory. I'll let you know when the heat index should be the highest coming up.
No, not today, Kat. Just let it wait for a couple of days. Listen, all new into WRAL Traffic Center. We just got reports about Raleigh police working a crash on Wake Forest Road in the northbound lanes near I-440. We're not seeing any delays on our sensors this morning, which is a good thing. But we'll continue to monitor that to see if any issues develop there on Wake Forest Road. Another incident we've been following, this is a serious crash in Capitol Boulevard near Old Wake Forest Road. And once again, the good news here is it's not causing any delays for your morning commute if you happen to navigate Capitol Boulevard in the morning around Wake Forest Road. This is another crash on Six Forks Road in the eastbound lane near Atlantic Avenue. Delay free in that area, but just be careful as you're navigating that road this morning because we're not seeing any particular problems in that particular area, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Elsewhere around the Triangle, things are really beginning to thin out on the Beltline, the northern side of the Beltline as well as the south side of the Beltline this morning, but we'll keep you posted just in case anything pops up. As always, if you're listening to us on the radio, you can do so at 99.3 FM in Raleigh, 96.5 FM in Durham.
We want to get right to that breaking news unfolding there. A large law enforcement presence in Fuquay Varina. That's where we find WRAL's Nick Perlin. He is there in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker on Forest Branch Road. Nick, what do you see him?
Well, Chris, right now you can see there's Wake County Sheriff's deputies a little bit further down the street here on Forest Branch Road, right in front of this white house. And I want to get you some video or some live footage rather from Sky 5, who's actually here above me right now. And you can see there's crime scene tape blocking off this part of the house. And again, more deputies here trying to figure out what exactly happened. I will say about 5 minutes ago, a neighbor who lives in this neighborhood drove past me and told me she heard yelling about an hour ago coming from this White House, but we're still trying to learn from Wake County Sheriff's Office why exactly they were called here this morning. As we get more information, we'll be sure to update you on this developing story. I'll continue to provide updates as more information becomes available. Live in Fuquay, Varina, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Back in with Nick in just a bit. This morning, police are investigating a crash that left a car on its side in a southeast Raleigh neighborhood. You can see right here in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker video. This happened around 3:30 this morning on Casota Lane. That's near Rock Quarry and South New Hope Roads. We are reaching out to Raleigh police to learn more about the crash and whether anyone was injured.
And more breaking news. Crews in Moore County are trying to learn the cause of a fire that destroyed one building and damaged another. This happened on Chestnut Street just after 1 o'clock this morning. Firefighters were able to knock the fire down in about 30 minutes. The building that burnt appeared to be abandoned. No one was inside. A house next door had heat damage to its siding. We're also working to learn more about a shooting in Durham that left a man with life-threatening injuries. Police say it happened on South Roxborough Street near Cornwallis Road at about 7:45 last night. They say someone took the man to the hospital in their personal car. We are working to learn the man's name and whether police have anyone in custody.
In just a few hours, closing arguments are set to begin in the trial of a Holly Springs man. He has been accused in a series of pellet gun shootings. Henderson Atwater has already spent nearly 3 years in jail for this case. And WRAL's Laura Levine explains Atwater was arraigned again on these same charges back in January.
Today's closing arguments here will be the culmination of what's been a very tumultuous case. We know Henderson Atwater is facing dozens of counts, and he has maintained his innocence since the very beginning. Now, Atwater spent nearly 3 years behind bars before a judge declared a mistrial last year. Then in January of this year, he was arraigned again on 30 counts, which included the same charges plus additional ones. He's accused of being connected to a string of pellet gun shootings dating back to 2020 and 2021. They targeted moving cars and did not lead to any deaths. Now, the NAACP has called for a federal investigation into the prosecution. We spoke with Atwater and one of his attorneys earlier this month who say they just want to prove his innocence and put this all behind them.
There's more evidence showing that he was framed than that he committed any of the offenses.
You know, this is why I'm calling for an investigation. It will be done.
Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman says her office has done its due diligence to be fair in this case. The closing arguments begin here at 9:30. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Covering Wake County, today work begins to demolish Swift Creek Elementary School. The work will make room for a major renovation. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains this is part of a major school improvement project for Wake County Public Schools.
If you've driven down Tryon Road recently, you may have noticed all of this fencing up outside of Swift Creek Elementary. In just a few hours, this building will be demolished. The school is undergoing major renovations. The newly renovated building will hold the same amount of students, but the square footage will be larger to meet new curriculum standards. Swift Creek has a rich history in Raleigh, dating back to the late 1920s. The school was last renovated in 1991. Classes will be held on Timber Drive during this current renovation project. This is all a part of a 7-year school improvement project in Wake County. You can see some of the schools included on this map. Nearly a dozen new school buildings are set to open by 2026. We'll have a crew here when this building is demolished at 10 o'clock, and we'll keep you updated on the progress of all of these renovations. The building is set to open next year. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Today, President Biden is expected to announce plans to make big changes to the Supreme Court. Politico reports Biden will propose term limits for justices. Now, Biden is also expected to seek a constitutional amendment to limit presidential immunity, but both proposals will likely face an uphill battle. Any reforms to the Supreme Court would require congressional approval. An amendment would need to be ratified by at least 38 states.
Today, President Biden will be in Texas. He's making a stop in Houston to pay his respects to the family of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who died earlier this month. He'll then travel to Austin. He plans to visit the LBJ Presidential Library to mark the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act.
Another day of Olympic action is just getting started in Paris. Here's a look at some of the big events happening today. At 9:30, the U.S. women's rugby sevens team plays France. It's like an hour from now. The men's team final in gymnastics gets started at 11:30 this morning, and at 2:30 this afternoon, finals in several swimming events get started. That includes the men's and women's 100-meter backstroke. You can watch all those events and more live today on WRAL, or you can catch the replay on primetime in Paris starting at 8 o'clock tonight.
And Chris, you mentioned the 100-meter backstroke for the women. Jeff Hogan here in the WRAL Live Center. I want to take you to Catherine Burkhoff's debut in the Olympics right here in the preliminaries. Okay, just getting started in the preliminaries for her, but her first ever showing right here. And she blasted off, throwing down a 57.99 in her initial attempt at the 100-meter backstroke. I'm going to show you the numbers here. If you look in the right-hand column in the bold, 57.99, that was her time there. It's almost a half a second better than anybody else, and the only person under 58 seconds in this. So her teammate right behind her there, Reagan Smith. So maybe it's a 1-2 we can add to that medal count for the U.S.
Medal counts, Jeff. The U.S. is actually on top of it, but some other countries are adding their own medals to the mix here. American athletes have won 3 golds, 6 silvers, and 3 bronzes. China is in second place with 9 medals, including 5 golds. France now has 9 medals also. Japan has 8 medals, and South Korea won 7.
The second full day of competition on Sunday saw some big moments for the U.S. Olympians. Simone Biles got the highest score in the women's gymnastics all-around qualifying. That's despite a left calf injury that left her limping. The women's team final will be tomorrow. And the men's basketball team took down Serbia in their Olympic opener, 110-84 for the win. The U.S. team features big names, including LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. They'll play South Sudan next Wednesday. And we'll have a viewing guide on WRAL.com so you can follow your favorite sports and athletes. Find the complete schedule day by day, what's on each channel, and streaming on WRAL.com. Search Olympics schedule.
You know, this weekend we got a nice break from the tropical humidity, but folks, it's not going to last long. WRAL meteorologist Chris Michaels joining us now. Chris, the tropical air that we have been dealing with all summer has some big effects for us.
It does. It's on your health. It's on finances, things like that, right? When you have that higher humidity, it takes longer for us to cool down through sweating. That's why we mentioned the heat index, and that's been above triple digits several times. Also, with more moisture comes a better potential for flooding. We've seen that over the past couple of weeks. Some of us seeing more than a foot of rain so far this month. It affects your finances because, well, well, it's harder for us to cool down overnight. So there's more cooling demand, not just during the day, but at nighttime. And here's why we bring this up. Over the past 38 days, 34 of those have had tropical humidity or dew points in the 70s. And we see that happening as we head later in the week as well. And I'm not just exaggerating when I say tropical. We took a parcel of air, that red line, traced it back to its origins, and it started out just south of Cuba, the upper level jet stream bringing that air back into our area. Again, that's going to happen later in the week. But also, speaking of tropics, now a 50% chance of development in the tropics in that orange blob. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is going to have more on that potential coming up in her full forecast.
I think it's so fascinating. You can track that parcel of air all the way from down there. Technology.
Pretty cool stuff, yeah. And it was surprising, but not surprising that it came from there as well.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Coming up, thousands of firefighters are working to contain one of the largest fires in California history, the massive park fire that's having some second guess their decision to move there.
Plus, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. Well, Robert Downey Jr. gets to do both. We're looking at the announcement of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's upcoming debut of Dr. Doom.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Kat Campbell in for Elizabeth Gardner today in Fenton and Cary. You can see quite a bit of cloud cover in the area. No rain in the triangle yet, but it is coming. It's already moving into the Sandhills, and we're starting to see the rain really pushing into Chatham County. Orange County, you are next. We also have a few spotty showers, but nothing terribly steady headed for Granville County. Hour by hour rain chances are going up, so now is the time to get out on your dog walk. Rain chances are relatively low, not terribly hot out there yet. 82 is our high today, but the big heat's coming back. Check out Wednesday, 94 for the high, the heat index back over 100. Thursday, we get near heat advisory criteria with a heat index near 105. Friday, it looks more likely we could see that upper 90s on the way, and it's going to be feeling tropical here soon. Our dew points are climbing. Today, steamy with dew points in the mid 60s, but by the time we get to tomorrow, we're back in the tropical category on the muggy meter. We're going to stay that way through much of the week. Speaking of the tropics, we are keeping an eye on some possible tropical trouble out there in the Atlantic. This has the potential to develop as it moves toward the Caribbean. You really can't see much out there right now. As it moves closer to the Caribbean, that's when it's got a better chance of coming together. It's a medium chance, about a 50% chance. And, you know, this time of year, you really got to watch systems that form there. It would likely track farther west if it were a weaker storm, but a stronger storm could steer it a little closer to the east coast. So we're going to be following this closely for you in the coming days. The European models and their ensembles have been pretty consistent and going more of that east coast route, but today they're actually trending a little farther offshore. Still, this is going to be one to watch with about a 50% chance of a tropical storm coming together per the European models, which we have exclusive access to here at WRAL on air. No need to panic or worry just yet. We still have 8 to 10 days to track this system. Systems that are in this area are still about 8 to 10 days away from any potential U.S. impact. So we're going to keep a very close eye on it for you. Check in with meteorologist Mike Mays for the latest data. Coming up this afternoon on WRAL, hopefully we'll have some model plots available by then. 82 today, but enjoy it while you can. The heat's building back in. It's going to be with us for quite some time. By the time we get to the weekend, high temperatures are going to be a bit closer to the lower 90s with a few storms.
Kat, thank you. We want to get back to that breaking news scene. About 13 minutes ago, we told you Wake County Sheriff's deputies were on the scene in Fuquay Arena, and we now know there was a reported stabbing there. Let's get to WRAL's Nick Perlin and the breaking news tracker. Nick, have you heard from any neighbors who may have seen or heard anything regarding this stabbing?
Well, Chris, in the past 10 minutes, I've now heard from 2 neighbors who live in this area as they were driving by me that they heard screaming about an hour ago from this white house here where you see deputies. And they say shortly after that, that's when Wake County deputies arrived here. I want to get behind the camera and I want to show you a little bit of this crime scene here. And as I zoom the camera in, not only can you see about 3 or 4 Wake County deputy cars, but you can also see this white house and you can see crime scene tape surrounding it with some deputies deputies here as they try to gather more information on what happened here this morning. We did learn from the Wake County Sheriff's Office that they don't have anybody who has been arrested in this stabbing just yet, so we're still trying to learn more information about a potential suspect. We're also still trying to learn what led up to this early this morning, so I'm going to stay on top of this, and as more information becomes available, I'll be sure to update you. Live in Fuquay Arena, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Back in with Nick a couple minutes from now. New this morning, there is tension in Venezuela because Nicolas Maduro was declared the winner of the country's presidential election. Venezuela's National Electoral Council says Maduro got 51% of the vote to win his third term as president. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there are serious concerns the election results he has with these, that they do not necessarily reflect the will of the people. Throughout the election, Venezuela's opposition party has said it is not a fair process. Maduro's government controls all public institutions in Venezuela, including the Supreme Court.
Thousands of people across the country are calling for justice for Sonia Massey. The Illinois woman was shot in her own home by a deputy earlier this month. Activists nationwide gathered for events yesterday for a day of mourning. Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson is charged with murder for her death. Authorities say that he was in her home because she called 911 for help. Body cam video shows him shooting and killing her after she took a pot of boiling water off the stove.
She called for help, and instead she was gunned down in her home. And I felt that. There's so many people here, I think, who looked at it and said, that should not be happening in 2024.
Many people who attended rallies say the shooting adds to their desire for police reform. The Justice Department says it's looking into the shooting. Grayson was fired from his job as a deputy.
Firefighters in California say they are making progress in containing the park fire, but folks, it is still growing. It has now burned more than 360,000 acres and destroyed more than 130 buildings. More than 4,000 firefighters are trying to stop the fire, which is now one of the largest in California history. Cal Fire says it now has about 12% of the fire contained. That's after days of not being able to contain it at all. No deaths have been reported, though. That's good. Many people who have lost their homes, including one of the men fighting a firefighter, are speaking this morning.
We just love living in the woods. Now, in hindsight, second guess that, but I still will. I'll do it again.
The park fire is one of nearly 90 active wildfires currently burning in the West.
Marvel stars took center stage this weekend in San Diego with many surprises for fans at Comic-Con. David Daniel takes a look at the big moments and announcements.
Hey, Mr. President!
Screams for Harrison Ford as he joined his Captain America Brave New World castmates on the stage of Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con.
It is I, Alexei Shostakov! Let me introduce you to... Oh my God. You guys didn't dress up?
David Harbour was the only member of the Thunderbolts cast to appear in costume.
Exactly 1 year from this weekend, we are releasing Marvel's first family into the MCU, the Fantastic Four.
Marvel chief Kevin Feige revealed the title of The Fantastic Four: First Steps, about to begin filming in the UK. And Joe and Anthony Russo, set to direct Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, revealed who will play classic Fantastic Four villain Victor Von Doom. Robert Downey Jr., whose Iron Man kicked off the MCU before his character died in Avengers Endgame, returns to the fold. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
If Harrison Ford doesn't say, "Get off my plane," I'm going to have a fit. Hey, before we go to break, here's a look at your winning lottery numbers.